Christian View, where we take today's hot topics, weigh them against the Word of God. God does have a view, and I'd like to welcome Pastor Lee Adams with us today. Thank you so much for having the nerve to be on here with us women today.
I'm excited. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And it's a great day for you to be here. We want to talk about some of the dumbest reasons people get married. You know, everybody doesn't get married for love.
Exactly. You know, people do get married for a lot of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And you know what? Part of the reason I think people get married is because they fantasize about the wedding. They want to have this big, beautiful wedding, or they want to have a baby. You know, they just go into marriage just completely unprepared. I think I did, you know, and they just have no real concept of what marriage is really all about. And I love the saying that there's 3 stages of marriage: the engagement ring, it's a 3-ring circus.
You know what she's going to say.
Engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the supper ring. Exactly. And I think if people knew that up front, and that's not true of marriage, but it is if it's not a marriage that is ordained by God.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know, they're listed the 10 dumbest reasons to get married, and actually looking at that list, I actually personally would put settling for number 1.
Yeah.
You know, and it gave a great concept, you know, because when you go to the store, you know, people are not really looking at the finest linen or the finest silk. They're looking at, you know, the best fit and if it looks good and it feels good, you know, but that shouldn't be applied to marriage. You know, that's something that you do have to take time with, and you don't settle just for what you can get for that moment, or, you know what I mean? You know, or
oh, most definitely, and you don't look for someone to complete you. There's only one person that complete you, and that's God. But a lot of people do. They feel like they're missing something. That void is there, and they know they're made for relationships. We're made to be committed to one another, and they try to fill it too quickly without going through the right process.
Our daughter went to Christian college, and she was a freshman on a hall with all senior girls who were engaged, getting married, getting their wedding rings and their dresses. And she was dating an older guy, and so he asked her to marry him. And because everybody was getting married, she wanted to get married to him. And my husband said, we need to think about this. And she was upset. And one day I looked at her and I said, sweetie, I said, look me in the eye and tell me you cannot live another day without him. And she couldn't look me in the eye. I said, do you love him? And I said, well, then why did you want to marry him? Everybody was getting married. Everybody her age was getting married. So she thought it was her time to get married, and it wasn't love.
No. Do you marry people?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
Yes, I marry people quite often. And one of the things Don brought up a very interesting point is that in today's society, we have a society where women outnumber men, and especially even more so in the church. And a lot of young ladies nowadays, once they meet a guy in the church or they meet someone there and he's displaying Christian values and virtues, they tend to think, okay, well, if I don't jump on this chance, maybe I'm not going to get married or my opportunities are going to be slim. So as we were talking earlier, settling, I think, is one of those things that a lot of people are doing, and that is the wrong reason to get married.
Yeah, Pastor Lee, I agree. I think a lot of people are dealing with loneliness. You know, I definitely know that so many people go out and are looking for that companionship, and I think I was at a very young age, but that had to do with some brokenness in my childhood. But even people who are married, divorced, and remarried, they're wanting to fulfill that companionship. So it's a valid need that needs to be met, but it's hard sometimes.
And they feel pressured. We work with the young singles at our church, and they feel pressured. I'm like almost 30 years old. I've got to get married. There's this pressure, and not everybody's meant to be married, really and truly.
Yeah, and going back, you know, to people preparing for the wedding, so many people put thousands and thousands of dollars into a wedding. Exactly. And you know what I say? I say cut back on the flowers and put more money into the upfront counseling. You know, I think that would really help. Yes, because people are unprepared for marriage.
Well, there's lots of reasons.
And we think alike, because that's exactly what I recommend, that people go through counseling, and not just counseling before marriage, but counseling throughout the marriage. And it's needed even more once you say, I do. And stop being in such a hurry. You know, we're in such a society now where people are in such a hurry. They met 2 months ago, and now they're already ready to get married. You know, if they were a great person 2 months ago, they're going to be a great person 2 years from now, and that gives you more time to get to know them.
Good. I like that.
Some churches have a policy that unless you go through the counseling,
They
like
won't
so
marry
many
you.
months, they won't marry you. And I applaud that.
I do too.
Because you find out so much in that counseling arena that you overlook when you're just dating and you don't have somebody saying, well, I see there's some differences here.
Before you marry them, do you check to see if they're unequally yoked or
Yes,
if they're...
I do a compatibility check, and as Dawn was saying earlier, it's kind of funny. I do a questionnaire that I developed myself that initially I start off the counseling with, and one of the questions I ask them is, do you know the spouse's mother's maiden name or what town she's from? And that tells you, like, if not to say that you're not compatible because you don't know their maiden name, but it does give you something to think about. I really don't know everything about this person, so it kind of opens up the conversation that they need to get to know more about each other.
Do you follow these marriages through? Do you ever know if they end up divorced after you've married them?
I have actually had some marriages that have wound up in divorce, and there was actually one couple that I married that I actually told that that I didn't
You don't
think
need
they
to be
should
doing
get married.
this.
Right, and they were so persistent, and they were going to go to the justice of the peace. So you know, you can't
They're
stop
gonna do it
them.
regardless.
So I went ahead and performed the ceremony, but I did tell them up front that I did not think that this was the best relationship.
50% of the marriages end in divorce.
Yes.
Probably 50% of the marriages should never have
Should
been.
never have happened. True.
What was the
That's
red
true.
flag with that couple?
The red flag was actually, I think I had history with one of the persons, and I knew a lot of their issues. And in the counseling session, I knew they were not being honest with their to-be spouse.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
you've
a
got
good
to have
pastor.
you got to
Yes.
have that foundation starting
Yes.
out. Most definitely.
But if you pulled them over and showed them all the faults about that person, they wouldn't have
Right,
listened to you, Lee.
They were going to go
They would
ahead
not
anyway.
have.
Yes.
They would. They got mad at you for telling them.
Exactly right.
And sometimes a guy will marry a girl because they've been dating long enough, the girl say, it's an ultimatum. Either you marry me or I'm
Yes.
leaving. And they'll do it. It's not so much of a love thing. It's a pressure thing, or
Pressure.
I don't want to lose her, you know. And
Yeah.
but really, there was a reason maybe that he was him-hawing in the first place.
Yeah.
And it comes out later on. And you should never marry for ultimatum.
No pressure should put you into a marital situation, and a lot of times people will make that mistake and have a child, and they'll use that as
that's
the
gonna make
reason
it
for
better.
getting marriage. And they'll have parents that'll encourage them to get married, their friends, or they feel guilty if they don't give that child the two-parent home, and that's understandable, but it is not a reason to get married. It just because you have made a mistake doesn't mean you add to that mistake, because not everybody that has a child together was meant to be together. So two mistakes don't
make it
you know,
right.
don't make it
Simpler
right.
than that. I remember reading on the list, one of the reasons was because she's hot.
Yes.
I call that the Las Vegas wedding, the Las Vegas marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I think you should think that person's hot, but that's not the reason why you should marry that person.
And then
you know?
another reason, a lot of women want to get married. I hear them say, I'm looking for someone to take care of me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
most men are not looking for anyone to take care of as an extra liability.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Like your liability.
You want 100% whole and 100% whole coming
Yes,
together.
exactly.
Yeah, if you're not
Most-
willing to go into this and be completely committed, and that takes two. It takes two to get married, and it takes two to stay married. So you got to go in and you've got to say, okay, both parties have got to say, am I 100% committed?
This is good. We'll be right back.